Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Charlie, and I got some questions, more questions from a blog, a lady that read my blog, a young Canadian gal. So let me go ahead and get started before I ramble. You know I do. Serbian creativity at its finest. Drink beer is the brand here. Wow. I stumbled on this at Beer Fest, and I actually enjoyed it. You know, not a bad beer. Anyway, let's get to this young lady. Wow, we got a young Canadian gal that's coming here to Serbia. And she's got some questions. I'm going to make this video in about 3 parts because it's very long, okay? You've got a lot of questions. Let me go ahead and begin here. Her name is Kirsten. Kirsten, nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. Hello, I was comforted to read about your stay in Pirot. I myself am going to visit Pirot in a few weeks with my boyfriend who was born in Pirot, Serbia. I am Canadian and haven't done much travel outside of Canada and the USA. Everything I've come across in my research has been quite scary sounding, to say the least. I wasn't sure what to expect, and my boyfriend being born and raised there, but then moving to Canada in the last several years doesn't seem to be of much help in that department. I hear you. We are going back home to visit with his grandparents and friends. I've been coming across articles of an abundance of stray dogs with potential to be rabid, and articles and advisories to not drink the water there or eat certain foods if they have been washed in the local water. I'd like to go and share in this beautiful culture, but all sorts of things are worrying and making it seem like I'll become ill. What did you find it like there, food and drink-wise? Did you drink bottled water there, or did you drink the well water? How was transportation if you did take the bus or taxis at all? Any of your experiences, thoughts with this would be greatly appreciated, as it's been causing me to lose sleep at night wondering. If I can't drink the water or eat anything that's been washed in the water, what the heck will I eat or drink? Wonderful. I feel your pain, my dear, as Bill Clinton said. Oh, you can't quote Bill Clinton in Serbia. It's like a death sentence. Okay, so luckily you're from Canada. But anyway, let me go ahead and get started here on these questions, because I wrote you back and you sent me a bunch more. So I'm going to make this in a couple of videos. First question you asked there about the abundance of stray dogs. Serbia has a big problem with that. Stray dogs are all over the place. Even here in Belgrade, there's stray dogs. And some of the smaller towns in South Serbia, there's a lot of them. You know, there's a great place in Niš that's trying to spay and neuter stray dogs and try to do things for them. I'm not an animal lover, to be honest. And I don't like animals to run around me without a leash, because it scares me. But, you know, knock on wood, I've never had a bad experience with them. And the rabies part, I think, is absolute baloney. I've never heard of a case of rabies here, and I mentioned that to many friends before. In many cities, I said, man, they're stray dogs, you know, but you're not going to run into hundreds of them, you know. And a lot of the people here, the homeowners, they'll put food out for them, so they're a little more of a domesticated stray dog than you're used to seeing in the West, you know. And of course, in the USA, if you have a stray dog, you can call the Animal Protection Service. They'll come and get it. Here they don't have that, you know, and it's just developing here because the government doesn't have a lot of money. But don't worry about rabies. I think that's baloney. You know, I've never heard of that. I've never been bitten. I've never been intimidated by a dog. So I think that was overblown. Next part about the water, and I really don't understand the part about the water. Here in Serbia, especially in South Serbia, the water is a lot cleaner than it is in many other countries I've been to. Lived in Mexico, you never, ever drink the water. You always drink bottled water, or you boil your water. Here, no. Serbia has a ton of water available. They got many springs and lakes that they use in South Serbia, especially around Pirot. Remember Pirot specifically, I stayed there numerous times. I drank the tap water. We even went to this big lake around back of the lake, gorgeous lake in the middle of this forest. Water was coming down. My friends are drinking this water from there. And, you know, I've never gotten sick from the water in Serbia. Niš, I lived in Niš for 5 months. Niš is 45 minutes away from Pirot. It's 45 minutes west. And I drank the water there constantly. It's beautiful water. But bottled water is in abundance here. But in my personal opinion, I think bottled water is the biggest ripoff, biggest sham in world history, you know. A lot of it, they just probably go to Pirot to the tap and pour it in there, and then you think, hey, it's bottled. I just don't trust bottled water, personally. But to each their own. If you want to drink bottled water, you can get a big bottle of it here for about 60, 80 dinara. which is like $1, and you can have at it, you know. But I wouldn't bother myself. The only city in Serbia that I wouldn't drink the bottled water would be Zrenjanin, because Zrenjanin, but Pirot is in southeast Serbia, Zrenjanin is way up here, and it was on a Paleolithic lake or sea, and so there's a lot of minerals, and it's brown and smelly. But I drank it anyway, and I'm still kicking, you know. So washing the food in there, I don't think that's an issue. I think that's major baloney, you know. Pirot, when you're talking about food, I drink well water there too. There's a little village around there called Rabid, and that I went to. Beautiful. You should go there. The villages around there are kind of creepy. It's like Hansel and Gretel type things, you know. People don't have cars that much, and it's really neat. But you drink the well water, it's clean. I mean, they don't have lots of chemicals and stuff that they spray. And they don't have open sewer, things like that. I mean, this country is not just a, you know, like a slum in India. I mean, it's clean and sanitary. What else was I getting ready to tell you? Oh, wash the food here. There's very little GMO here in Serbia. Genetically modified organisms. Isn't that what that stands for? Yeah. And so they don't do that much here. They don't spray a lot of chemicals on their gardens. In Pirot, especially, very economically poor area. Tigar Tire is like the biggest employer down there. Other than that, there's not much. I mean, it's just struggling. Anywhere south of Kragujevac is bad economy. You know, a lot of the incomes there. You know, I had kids tell me their mom works 6 days a week making hamburgers, and she makes like €100 a month, a little more. Terrible wages. So a lot of those families you go to, her grandparents especially, I guarantee you, they're going to grow their tomatoes, their peppers, their all that stuff. Probably have chickens even, and so all the stuff you're going to get is going to be fresh. You can smell the fruit, the vegetables. I mean, it's got a little bit of a taste here. You know, a lot of the tomatoes I've eaten in Serbia, being back home, you go to a market. That tomato probably sprayed with some chemical to keep it sitting there ripe and beautiful for weeks. Here in Serbia, you go and farmers markets everywhere, not 24 hours a day, every day of the week, farmers markets. You can pick fresh produce that came right out of their garden that they picked. You know, you always want to wash it because maybe manure, they use manure to fertilize, I don't know. But at least it's not like deathly chemicals that's going to sterilize you or something, you know. So I think you'll find the food beautiful, you know. Don't concern yourself with the food. These Serbs live just as long as we do in the West. And, you know, a lot of those villages, these ladies are 80, 85, they're still running up and down the hills. They know what they're doing, and they know how to keep stuff clean and healthy. So all that about water and being dirty and rabid, don't worry about that. You know, there's way more things to concern yourself with that. How is transportation? Transportation in Serbia is phenomenal, really. If you compare it to Chicago or other large cities in the USA, they're friendly, first of all, is something you'll notice. I know back home, nobody takes the Greyhound bus from city to city, except, I don't know how to even say it nicely, very poor people, let's just put it that way. Here in Serbia, it's quick, it's clean, they're always on time, and they treat you right, you know, and they're cheap. You can go from Niš, if you're in Pirot, Pirot doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a smaller town. But there's good nightlife there. There's lots of history around that area that I think you'll find enjoyable if you're into that kind of thing. The best thing for you is to get outside of there. If you're into nature, there's some gorgeous places down there. Untouched forests, you know. But Niš, if you want to go to a larger city, Niš is like the second or third biggest city in Serbia, 45 minutes away, costs maybe 1,000 dinara, 10 euros to go back and forth, a round-trip ticket from Pirot to there. And there's a bus about every hour. Taxi, you don't really need a taxi in Pirot. Pirot's small, you can really walk about everywhere, but if you want to take a taxi, there's a ton of them. And probably for €1, you can probably go about anywhere in Pirot. Niš, right next door, where I lived for 4 months, a city of 300,000 people, 200,000, whatever it is, like for 200 dinara or €2, a little more than that, you could go just about anywhere, you know, so Pirot's cheaper. So transportation's all over Serbia. You want to go to Belgrade, you can, it takes a long time. It's 1 hour to Niš almost, and then 3 hours north, so it's about 4 hours away. but you're only an hour from Sofia, Bulgaria, the capital of Bulgaria. You can go through the borders like that with your Canadian passport. You don't need permission. Anything, just go through the border, they'll stamp your passport, all that. Anyway, I'm going to get this uploaded because I got a bunch more. Do widzenia.